It's important to note that youth incarceration levels have been in the decline. What is more important about this is the fact that our parents are special to us, and if we ended up incarcerated, it can be a huge burden on our parents' shoulders. It can bring all sorts of stress towards our parents, mentally through sadness and physically through expenses and traveling. In this video, we'll look at what being incarcerated means towards a relationship and connection with our parents. To start off, it's important to know that youth incarceration rates have been on a dramatic decline over the years. According to a study done by Stats Canada, youth incarceration rates continue to decline. In 2015-16, there was an average of 998 youth being held in some type of custody on any given day. This represents a youth incarceration rate of 5 per 10,000 youth, down 3% from the previous year, and 27% from 2011-2012. You may be asking what this has to do with the topic at hand. Well, because crime rates are down significantly, you as a youth offender may not benefit of having low-costing expenses like legal aids and court dates. Plus, most juvenile detention centers have shut down due to a sharp decrease at this point, so the cost of traveling will be a lot for your parents to pay. Speaking of traveling to prisons, one thing that really makes a better relationship between individuals is the idea of separation. When young offenders are placed in cells miles away and only get to see their parents and guardians occasionally, prisons, jails, and juvenile detention centers begin to deteriorate them, and if and when they go back to their parents, they're a totally different person. In an interview done by journalist Julia Kyle Williams on Liz Ryan, who was the CEO of Youth First Initiative, when asked on what has been your experience with families of incarcerated youth, Liz replied that families in general, the parents of these young people, the siblings of these young people, are not taken into consideration in any way whatsoever by the justice system. When a young person is locked up, the state becomes their parent. That's the theory in the juvenile system, which really runs counter to what the research shows. The research shows that young people thrive in families. They do best when they're with their families. So essentially, if you get yourself locked up, bro, that parent-child connection, yep, it's going bye-bye. Another thing that is worth mentioning is the fact that when parents or families lose their children, it damages not only parents but children as well. This is an issue that is really overlooked. We also worry about our parents being locked up. What about us? Are we important to our families? Even with such a large number of children affected, very little research or resources are devoted to the siblings of incarcerated youth. A study conducted by sociologist Katie Heaton addresses this very point. She writes that these youth are the most often overlooked of those affected by incarceration. Non-offending siblings face high amounts of emotional stress, partly stemming from issues like bullying by other students who discovered their siblings' imprisonment, adjusting to new household roles and routines, complex feelings of stress related to their siblings' safety, visiting their brother or sister, and having their sibling return home after an extended period away. Even still, these children are overlooked by society. This study clearly emulates the idea of you not only making your parents sad, but your sibling, which adds fuel to the fire. Lastly, to conclude this video, I just wanted to share with you this story. I'm sure all of you guys heard of Khalif Browder. If you haven't, here's a quick clip.
We turn now to another tragic story about a young man who learned the hard way about the troubles plaguing America's criminal justice system. Khalif Browder was arrested at 16, never convicted of a crime, never had a trial, but spent more than 3 years in one of the most violent jails in the country. Tonight, here is Khalif in his own words.
You're supposed to be innocent to prove guilty, but the way the system is you're guilty till proven innocent.
Little did we know Khalif Browder was already dying inside the day we met him. At the easy age of 22, he'd already learned more about America's criminal justice system and endured more than any soul should ever have to. That's Khalif there on the floor inside Rikers Island, New York City's most notorious jail, beaten by a gang of fellow inmates, all caught on camera. At the age of 16, he was arrested and sent here for allegedly stealing a backpack.
It was like hell on earth. We were beaten, stomped by the correction officers, and they was just beating on me.
Beatings captured on surveillance video obtained by the New Yorker magazine, which first brought Khalif's story to light. In this video, we see him being escorted to the prison shower. He appears to speak to the guard, who in seconds is seen slamming him into a wall and then to the ground.
And I cry myself to sleep because it's like, I want to go home, and it's like they're not letting me go home.
To go home, Khalif's mother, Vanita Browder, needed to post bail of $3,000. Money, she said, she just didn't have.
What was your reaction when you heard that your 16-year-old boy was being sent to Rikers Island?
My heart dropped. You know, I had heard so many horror stories about Rikers, and all I could picture was him getting hurt in there.
Court records show Khalif had attempted suicide at least 6 times, spent 1,110 days behind bars, more than 800 of those in solitary confinement. His court date postponed more than 30 times. He endured all this having never been given a trial, never convicted of a crime. Finally, in June of 2013, all charges against Khalif were dismissed. But his experience exposed a troubled criminal justice.
One thing that I noticed a lot about the Khalif Browder story was the fact that him and his mom got really closer while he was in Rikers Island and while he was serving his sentence. That's something that I haven't seen in other cases. I think this is mainly because of the fact that when he was in jail, his mom cared for him and was more concerned for him. So when she went to all his court dates and to all his bail hearings, she was always there to comfort him and to be happy with him. And I think Khalif responded to that quite well, frankly, because he was also pleased with that. He said in another interview on the New Yorker, he said that when his mom was there, he got more hope to actually go against the plea because they wanted him to plead guilty, and he said no, he didn't want to plead guilty. And because his mom was there, his mom also gave him that boost and that motivation to not plead guilty. So I think this also had a huge impact on their relationship and kind of strengthened it. But anyway, that's all for this video, guys. Thanks for watching. Peace.